Cash Flow Diary Podcast, Episode 11.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cash Flow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
Well, hello there. Welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast. Glad that you are here. For those of you joining us for the first time, make sure you go over to the first episode, learn how the podcast is running. Hopefully, if you haven't, though, definitely listen to our previous episode as well, with all the questions from all of you guys who are interested and have the questions about your real estate careers and all of the information that we can help you with. Very, very excited to have done that we've received excellent response and continue to see more and more of you downloading the ebook. And if you haven't gone over to our website, make sure you go over to our website and get the currently free ebook on wholesaling. It's Investing Made Easier Wholesaling. For those of you who don't know, I started my investing career as a wholesaler. So what we've done is we've taken, some of the best tidbits of that information, put it into about 28 or so pages, and any and everyone who is already on that list, by the time we send out the information for the webinar, you are going to be specifically with me able to ask and interact your questions with me directly so that we can get those answered. That webinar get recorded, and if your questions are there, it'll be great for you to get the questions answered. So download the ebook, read it, get your questions ready, because you will soon be receiving emails letting you know that we're going to be doing the webinar series. And again, just as a repeat, if you haven't listened to the first episode, make sure that you do so that you can understand a little bit more about me. If that's something you actually care about, then great. If not, listen to it anyway, because it might help you understand a little bit more about where I'm coming from when it comes to the whole real estate game. Just and to get the wholesaling book, just go ahead and put your email in the box over at cashflowdiary.com. Again, the website address is cashflowdiary.com. Let's start this episode. This episode, as you guys have probably deduced, it is live and unplugged, and I say Chicago. That's because I was recently invited to speak. I speak, multiple times throughout the year in various locations, etc. And in this particular case, it was in Chicago a few weeks ago. I was very excited, glad to be there. So what we're doing is that I've had my guys go out and, I guess, get a couple of audio clips from the actual live training for you guys. So that's pretty much what you're going to be hearing for this episode, and possibly one or two more, depending on how much feedback we get from you guys saying that you like that kind of stuff. But definitely, speaking of liking stuff, if you could do us a favor, please go over to the iTunes and just go ahead and, hit the 5 stars. That'd be great. And type something a little bit nice. That'd be awesome. And before we get started with the couple of live clips, I wanted to make sure that we go over, our quote. So this is the quote. It comes to us from Mr. John W. Gardner. You may not have heard of him. That's okay. It says, much education today is monumentally ineffective. All too often, we are giving young people cut flowers when we should be teaching them to grow their own plants. Now, you probably also have heard the saying, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach him to fish, feed him for a lifetime. And I think that's kind of where, Mr. Gardner was coming from with this particular statement. And one of the reasons that the Cash Flow Diary exists is to teach how to grow your own plants and how to fish. I mean, yes, there are many systems out there that provide turnkey and all this other stuff, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're looking for. And at the same, I mean, obviously we do that business, etc. But the point is, I want to teach and help other individuals be able to duplicate, exactly what it is, so that they can go out there and inspire their own kids, their own friends, with what it is that they've accomplished, and add more and more, learning to it. So, John W. Gardner, if you don't know who he was born October 8, 1912, died February 16, 2002. He was noted for being the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare under President Lyndon Johnson. And actually, during World War II, he served in the United States Marine Corps as a captain. And for those of you out there who have served in any of our armed services, I personally thank you. Even if you haven't heard thank you in a while, or if you have heard thank you in a while, you haven't heard it from me. So now there you go. Thank you. I definitely appreciate that. Most of my family's Army and or Air Force. And I appreciate anyone who's willing to make that sacrifice. So, and also, Mr. Gardner in 1955 became the president of the Carnegie Corporation of New York, and at the same time was the Carnegie Foundation, at the same time, the Carnegie Foundation for Advancement of Teaching. So he was definitely into teaching and in education. That's probably how he got appointed Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare for Lyndon Johnson. But the point is, when you're learning something, one of the things I think that's probably the most important is, are you learning it just to are you learning it just to relieve pain or solve a problem? And more importantly, is the person you're learning from teaching just to relieve pain or solve a problem? Because those are two different mindsets to think about. Anyway, let's get started with the first little bit of the live training. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut straight into it. And it's near the beginning of when I was starting, the training session over in Chicago. And it was great. It was fun. Had lots of fun. And you just listen and remember, it's a complete live audience. So you'll hear some of their questions. You'll be able to hear, just how, the style and everything else that goes on live inside of one of the events. Hopefully you enjoy it. And then I'll come right back here in just a few minutes.
Yes, excellent. Write this down in this order. These are the 5 questions you must answer in this order. Answering them in this order, you can start any business, not just real estate, but it will definitely answer his question. The questions are: why, what, when, who, how. Why, what, when, who, and how. Say it one more time. It's why, what, when, who, and how. What was good about his state? What was your name, sir?
Shoko.
Whoa, give me the nickname.
They call me Big Show.
Big Show. Thank you. I need help. There's one of me, lots of y'all. A lot of different names going on. Help me out.
I just call him Lieutenant.
Lieutenant, that'll work too. So the good thing is that he singled in on multifamily, and he singled in, I heard, buy and hold. Now, you said you needed some assistance in defining your identity. We're going to talk about that. In fact, I can skip to this slide right here. Isn't that it? Nope. 1, 2, 3. There it is. If I skip to this slide right there, you told me in your statement your financial target. You also told me your, where'd it go? Asset class. You told me those 2 things. Okay, so you have some of it there. Many of those other questions or those other answers are going to come from answering the first question. The question I asked you, or I said in order, was why. So I'll help you figure this out, and we'll get this handled for you right now, because this will help everyone else too. What or why are you in real estate? What is it that you are hoping real estate will be able to do for you? You tell me.
Well, a number of different things, but the first one is I want the freedom.
Freedom? Stop. What does freedom mean?
Freedom means
to you?
Freedom means that I can get up and do what I want to do, when I want to do it. I'll be able to live the life, and that I'll be able to put a heritage for my children's children. for the next 3 to 5 years. And the fourth one is that I want to build schools for children that do not have.
Okay.
Long term. So I have.
Stop. Why is that important to you?
Because I was a child living in the ghettos here in Chicago, and some people helped me. So I really want to help children that are at risk, and I have the opportunity to learn education like this, and I want to build something for them to get a great start. That's important.
Excellent. So then why is a apartment building necessary for that to happen?
Well, I was told it helps to build wealth, my net worth, and also bring cash flow long term.
Correct.
That's what I.
But any piece of real estate could do that.
Sure.
Okay, so why does it have to be an apartment building? It's okay to say it doesn't have to be.
That's all I really know right now.
Okay, that's also an okay answer. Excellent. If that's all we really know right now, understand that part of the answers to these questions is that's all I really know right now. And is it okay to grow? Yes or yes? Yes. Absolutely, it's okay to grow. Where you start is not where you stay, and that's fine. So we can keep going down this process, but it sounds like you were more interested in running a business than you are more interested in providing housing. Make sense? Based upon what you've told me. Now you know intuitively that your business needs a place to live, i.e. real estate, and that's what it sounds like you were more interested in. So for example, if you took that building right there and turned it into a place where these children could come, it sounds like that would meet your goal. But that's not an apartment building. Yeah, do you see where I'm coming from? Would that still build wealth? Would that still build cash flow? Could you still hold it? All these other things. The answer is absolutely yes. Here's a book I want you to make sure you get. It is called Social Capitalism, or The New Social Capitalist by Josh and Lisa Lannon. They are new Rich Dad Advisors, personal friends of mine now, and you'll understand as you go through that book, specifically because of what you shared with me, you'll understand why that's important. Josh and Lisa Lannon. Okay. And here's my point. By asking those questions, we potentially identified a completely different asset class. However, we also identified something else, the asset demographics. Based upon who he is, there's a certain customer he is comfortable with. Yes or yes? Yeah, we'll talk about that, because knowing which customer you are going to be most comfortable with is very, very key. Some of you already know, but my sorry, I chuckle because my CFO, she sees this. She sees the numbers. She's intimately involved. But she is such a Nordstrom investor. She was on my way here. She's like, how about I buy something in Memphis? I was like, what? I'm like, you don't even like our tenants. She's like, I know, but the cash flow is so cheap. I'm just like, no, those are all the wrong reasons. And she isn't even clear on her identity. And she's like phone calls away from me every day. It's like, so understand that it's a bunch of questions like similarly just what I went through. That was just for me to find out the asset demographics. Because you told me that you're probably going to slant towards the Walmart side of the scale, simply because of that's who you're used to. And that's the whole point of understanding your investor identity, is to understand the customer you feel you could serve the best, primarily based upon who you are. That's the key, not based upon which one makes money. They all make money. Money is not the issue. The issue is how can you be of service? How could you make a difference using real estate? Okay, you sound like you're more interested in, like I said, a business that has to have a place to stay more than just real estate. Am I making sense? Yeah? Okay, good.
Okay, well, that was the first part of the two-part training or at least two parts of the training that I want to share with you from Chicago. And let's take a small break right here. And I just want to make sure that we recover our cash flow question from last time. If you remember, the cash flow question last time it says, during your due diligence period, what is the name of the process you follow when ensuring the rent roll is accurate? I'll repeat. During your due diligence period, what is the name of the process you follow when ensuring the rent roll is accurate? It is simply called a file audit, a file audit. Now, while that may sound simple, I promise you the process is not. I mean, it entails things like just making sure that, say, if you're buying a property that's tenanted from someone else, you want to make sure that you have copies of their application, copies of, the driver's licenses, make sure that those match up. As well, especially when you have multiple tenants in a multiple tenant situation. Just because the person is in the room doesn't mean that that is the person on the lease. You've got lots of issues to match up there. Verifying security deposits. You've got to just, again, keep the records in compliance so that if at any time, like, what are their fair housing rules? Or how are they following them? Are those signs even posted in the office? Do they know what they are? Does your property manager or their property manager, or whether you're aware of protected classes? There's so much information that you may or may not be aware of. But what it comes down to is that file audit is definitely one of those processes that if you are like me and you can't stand paperwork and details, you better go find someone who does so that it can be done properly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So this week's question I like a lot because it has to do more with numbers and money. And if you haven't heard already, I'll tell you right now that math and money are the same. So for those of you who just tuned out because you're thinking, oh man, not math, math and money are the same. So don't worry about that. This week's question has to do with math or money, however you want to look at it, is what is the name of the minimum rate of return that you were willing to accept on your investment? Again, what is the name for the minimum rate of return that you are willing to accept on your investment? Understanding this number is very, very important because one of the things as you progress in your real estate career or any career or just investing or business in general, this applies, universally, is you've got to know that what your go, no go in a sense. It's a way to eliminate some options because after a while, everywhere you look, you'll see opportunity. Once you've been trained to recognize opportunity, you'll see it no matter where you go. And what you want to do is you want to be able to have some standards, and this particular standard is very, very important, and it becomes a great way for you to determine whether or not you should, continue to invest any of your time on this particular transaction, this particular business, this particular idea, even, no matter what it might be. Okay, so let's get back to the live training, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Talk to you soon.
But here's my point. Which was easier to find, the money or the experience? The money. The money is easier to find. The money is easier to find. Once you have the knowledge, which you then transfer into experience, all you do is market your knowledge and experience, and the money finds you. Because people with money have a problem. You just haven't thought of it that way. You think they've got money, therefore they have no problems. That's what you say. That's what you are making that mean. That's not true. What is true is that people with money have a problem. Their problem is, where can I put my money? That doesn't sound like a problem to you, but it is. Okay? And you get to become the solution provider. It's just like if I sold food. We all get hungry, right? It would be a no-brainer if I said, hey, you guys are all hungry, so I've got barbecue. You got to pay me money for it. And you're like, sure, that makes sense. You've got the money, I got the food, let's work something out. It's the same thing. You've got the money, I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, I've got the team, let's work something out. Yes?
Well, my question is, I've been around about 6 months, and to me, it's like a vicious cycle because I have some education now and I understand, but I don't have any experience. So people who have money don't necessarily want to come to me because I don't have any experience. So how did you get it through that first initial problem?
No problem. What's your name, ma'am? Petra? I like that. German? Yeah, okay, got it. I grew up in Germany. Anyway. Is it okay if I take the risk of possibly offending you but still helping you?
Oh, absolutely.
Good, because I was going to do it anyway. All right? Yes. Yes. Here's the truth. It's not about you. You're making it about you. That's why they're having trouble giving you the money. It's not about you. People don't cut me a check for $100,000, $20,000, $500,000 because it's about me. They cut a check because it's about the mission that my company fulfills in terms of serving and providing clean, safe, affordable housing for lower income people. They cut a check because it's about the fact that I have a team of individuals who have decades more experience than I do. It's because my team, here's a funny thing, my team is comprised of a whole bunch of college graduates with all kinds of degrees led by the college dropout. Okay? They cut a check because it solves the persons with the money's problem. None of us give up money unless we believe it's going to solve a problem for us. Every time you've paid for something, you said, I believe this will solve the problem. Period. Whatever it is, a taxi cab, you gave them money because you had a problem, it was transportation. Your cell phone bill, you needed the communication. Your bottle of water, you chose that bottle of water because you believed that brand could solve your problem better than the other brand. For whatever reason you believed it, you did. Even if it was true or not, imagined or real, the point is that's why you did it. It's not about you. When we try to make it about us, especially at the beginning, you're so in trouble because you got nothing to point to. You're like, I'm new, but please cut me a check. Help me out. It doesn't work. You have to point to the people you're surrounded by. Now, fortunately, here in Chicago, it's easy to find other people you're surrounded by. And that's what you must do. Write this down. At the beginning, you do your deals for knowledge, for experience, not profit. That's what you're doing deals for, is for the experience. It's not the profit. You may need to give up more of the profit, especially at the beginning, than you do later, simply to gain the experience. Because as I showed you earlier, money is easier to find. The experience is what's missing, is what is needed. But as you gain that experience, you become more valuable and you can command a higher price. And this is where Shark Tank becomes a lot of fun. And I'll show you some examples of that as well. But does that make sense? That's what I'm talking about. It's when you're first beginning, you're right. It can be a challenge. Because as soon as they go, well, what have you done? Nothing. You know, that's how you feel. But that's not the truth. The truth is, well, here's what I've done. I've surrounded myself by a group of individuals who are absolutely active so that when I make a mistake, I'm surrounded by people who know how to help me correct it with using your money. What I've done is that I've invested a significant dollar amount and time commitment into making sure that not only do I have access to the latest information that gets updated, but I also have access to the people, i.e. instructors, who created it so that based upon their experience, they can give me advice as well. Additionally, what I do have is that I have an unwilling and interminable desire to make sure that even though I know that I'm going to make a mistake and I may not get it all right, I know I will do whatever it takes to fix it, because that's who I am. Period. Now, that had nothing to do... I've done that more than once. I've done that more than once. But my point is, that had nothing to do with deals. In fact, it had everything to do with telling them I haven't done anything yet. But this is what I haven't done any deals yet, but this is what I have done and why you still should trust me. Now, to compensate you for your additional risk, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a little bit of extra cash on this deal to make up for that. Make sense? That's the spiel. That's what you say, especially when you don't have deals to point to. Today, it's different. Yeah, it's easier, sure. I had this happen on the way up here. I had a guy call me. I've already got a couple $100,000 of his. I wasn't expecting him to call. He calls. He didn't even talk to me. He talked to my operations officer saying, hey, I got more money. Can I meet with Jay and give it to you? He doesn't even know what we would use it for. I don't even know what we would use it for at this moment. Yeah, right. I didn't say I wasn't going to find a use for it. I just said, and that does begin to happen. Once you stick to your word, the most important thing that you have is your integrity and your word, period. Without it, you're dead. Period. I can't say enough about that. And my entire team and company works towards helping everybody keep their word every day, just to follow through on what we say we're going to do. If we said we're going to call you by close of business, we call you by close of business, even if it's to say we're not done yet, but we called you by close of business. Because all of that stuff, it's important. It's all you really have. And as you begin to build that, you'll understand. That's what they're investing in. They're not investing in your success. They're investing in knowing that if things go wrong, you can fix it. And I've had things go wrong, really wrong. All right.
Okay, well, that's what you get for now on this episode from the live training over in Chicago. I definitely enjoy speaking live. It's always fun, always getting the questions, always making sure that I'm staying on top of everything, not only by speaking so much, but also by making sure that I'm continually practicing what I teach. That's exactly the whole founding principle. So one final comment before we go. Now that you've gotten to hear me speak in front of a live group from, those select trainings that I now get invited to do, you heard about 14 minutes of material. Now, in Chicago, I spoke for nearly 12 hours over 2 days. But here's the thought I want to leave you with. If, when you're having fun, it isn't considered work, how are you having fun with your real estate investing career? Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.